Okay, next up I'm reviewing The Informant. This film is directed by Steven Soderbergh and starring one of Soderbergh's Ocean's movie alums, Matt Damon. One thing that has always bugged me about Damon, and it's not even Damon himself, it's the fact that he only gets recognized as a Hollywood movie star and not really getting the recognition he so finely deserves for being a damn good actor. If the Oscars weren't so close-minded to genre, just take a look at The Dark Knight snubbing last year, I would think that Damon would have earned a nomination for his near-haunting and full-throttle intriguing work in the Jason Bourne films. He does have one Oscar nomination under his belt for Good Will Hunting, but that was 12 years ago, and people seem to forget that's what made him. And I will say this right now, here in The Informant, he gives the best performance of his career, and I greatly hope he's not overlooked come Oscar time. Damon plays Mark Whitcare, known as the highest-ranking whistleblower in the corporate history of the United States. Whitcare wasn't what he seemed on the surface, failing to come clean about his own antics. He was an employee at Arch Daniels Midland, a company that produces food additives. He had a PhD from an Ivy League school, worked in biochemistry, but eventually he climbed the corporate ladder and finds himself working behind a desk with a very comfortable living. Now, he finds himself in a mess of trouble when the company's lysine production is threatened by a virus in the bugs used to produce the lysine. It's Whitcare's job to make the problem go away, but the company will continue to lose millions of dollars if it doesn't. Now, he informs his superiors that he's received an overseas telephone call from a competitor that the virus was intentionally introduced. They also claim to know the identity of the culprit and will give it away in exchange for monetary compensation. Now, faced with extortion, obviously, the company brings in the FBI, who offered to wire Mark's phone record, or yeah, wire his phones for any further communications. And here's where the plot thickens. Mark then secretly goes to the FBI and informs them that ADM is involved in an international price-fixing scheme. He's worried that if the FBI learns of the price fixing from the phone calls, he'll be the fall guy, so he begins cooperating with them to bring them down, all the executives at his company. And that's just really the beginning of the story for Mark Whitcare. And over the next few years, Mark works as an informant, wears a wire, helps build a case against ADM, and gets caught in his own lie or two, or three or four or five or six. This film does the odd spin of turning a serious story, like something I guess you could compare to The Insider with Russell Crowe. It takes a serious situation and turns it into a smart, sophisticated comedy that scores a lot of big laughs, and the fact that it made that bold move made me admire it all the more. I love the look and the feel of the film being set in the 90s, setting the tone for exactly what's going on. A movie like this, in the wrong hands, can fail. Steven Soderbergh has proven in the past that when it comes to certain aspects of life and grittiness of it all, he can make the most of it in many of his films, be it something like Traffic or what he did earlier this year in a different kind of movie, The Girlfriend Experience. He very well could have made this a successful drama, in my opinion, if he wanted to, but he chose to portray Mark Whitcare as someone who thought was doing the right thing, but really he himself hasn't been doing the right thing. Damon truly goes for broke in a career-defining performance right down to the look and the attitude and how he carries himself. It's difficult to take on a role when you're as big a star as Damon and you're trying to look different, but rather than say, "Oh, that's Matt Damon in the disguise." I was thinking just how brilliant his taking of this character was, and how infectious the performance is. His character is so lost within himself, yet so ambitious. You can't help but love the guy and want to root for him, even though he has his shortcomings. This movie is very interesting in the way it unfolds, and we don't always know what's going on or what's going to happen, but when we figure something out, it makes sense. A movie like this has to be careful not to slip that up. There's also some great supporting work here from an unlikely candidate, former TV star Scott Bakula, as FBI agent Brian Shepard. Melanie Lynskey, best known as Rose from the hit TV sitcom Two and a Half Men, is also very effective as the hopelessly loyal Ginger, Mark's wife. This film works on every level. It's like a satire that isn't a satire, but I laughed. I was captivated by the characters, the performances, and where Soderbergh took the story. Sometimes all those things are all a great film needs to be, and that's why The Informant gets the perfect 5.